Well, it was major news with a major loss of life earlier this year. An earthquake devastated parts of Turkey and Syria, right on the border there. And as you can imagine, the need for medical workers was huge.
Well, Scottsdale physician assistant Rob Casquejo answered the call, flew to Turkey for a medical mission. He joins us live here in studio this morning. Rob, thank you for coming in, and thank you for all you've done. You were saying this was your 5th medical mission that you've done.
It is. I've made it a personal goal of mine in the beginning of my career to be able to do charitable things with my skill, and this was one of them.
Yeah, and you own your own practice, you said, so you've got some freedom to travel. You went over there. It wasn't an easy trip to get there. Yeah. You arrived at the scene, and you said you were there in Turkey. What was it like when you first got there on the ground?
Well, it's very surreal, you know, to imagine the amount of destruction and devastation. You know, this earthquake was almost an 8 on the Richter scale, so devastating, and it affected 100,000 or so kilometers. It was estimated that the size that was affected was about the size of the country of Germany. And when I got there, I described to people that it was like a movie set. As far as you could see, buildings on their side, rubble. Wreckage everywhere. It was almost incomprehensible.
So you arrive there on scene, and are there tents set up, clinics already, and then your team moves in and gets to work?
It is. You know, when these things happen, there's sort of a delay for response. Right, there needs to be time to respond. But we were there about 4 weeks after the earthquakes hit, and about a few days prior to us arriving, there had been finally some shelters set up. We went specifically to a tent city that was in the Hatay province, in a small town there. Yes. Okay.
And what type of medical conditions were you treating?
Well, I would equate it to sort of like working in an urgent care with slightly more acuity. You know, there were a lot of chronic injuries from the initial earthquake. The serious stuff ended up going out to hospitals that were functional. There were none in the area that were functional. In fact, what was left of the hospital, the team, the organization I work with, International Medical Response, were working out of that hospital what was left of it. But the week prior to us getting there, a 3rd earthquake hit while they were working, and they were forced to evacuate emergently with literally the building falling down. Nobody got hurt on the team or the patients, but we had to work out of tents, basically. You know, eventually it's just this. A lot of injuries, a lot of illnesses, because people were huddled outside. It was their winter, you know, getting down to 20 degrees at night. Cold, yeah. So a lot of pneumonia, upper respiratory tract infections, injury, and just uncountable amounts of psychological impact.
Why do you do this? Why do you go on these trips?
Well, you know, I'd say there's really 3 things. You know, just being a Christian, my faith drives me to act on compassion. And then that's amplified by what I was taught by the people who raised me, my family, my father, who I lost somewhat recently.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And just because as a physician assistant, it's what we do. The profession was created to bring medical care to the underserved, people who need it and can't get it very easily. That's why we exist as a profession, and I'm just sort of fulfilling that.
Good man, Rob. Glad you came on.
Your father would be so proud.
I think so. Thank you. I think so.
Yeah, thank you for all you do. I know you said this was your 5th medical mission, and there were some incredible stories that came out of it as well, like the infant that was found and the mother. You know, how did you, you know, when you come back from missions like this, it must be life-changing.
It is. I tell people that when you're there, you're very task-oriented because you're busy, you're working. You wake up, you eat, you start working, and you really don't stop until it's dark out. You know, we worked about 12, 13-hour shifts, and then you eat, you go to bed, and you wake up and do it again. It's you don't think about it until, you know, I tell people when it really starts to set in is when you're sitting on a plane and it's quiet, and you're just sort of stuck with your thoughts. And you think about what you saw, you think about the magnitude of what it was, and there's this always, and I talk with other people who do this like I do, and there's this yearning that you wish you could stay. You wish you could do more. You want to go back right away. But that's really sort of where it sort of affects the soul, I think.
Well, I'm sure you're having an impact here as well. So continued success with your practice. And let us know when you're going to go on another one of these, and I'd love to talk to you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was really
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. Stay with us.